I had a guy the other day telling me something, how can China be happy? How can Chinese people be happy when they're so badly oppressed? And I said, look, don't argue with me. I live in China and I see it every day. Probably about 5 years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, that I suddenly started to realize that everything I was reading was misinformation. And I only came to Twitter 5 years ago during the first part of COVID because I was bored. And it was then that I started to become an active participant in social media. I get labeled. I've been called all kinds of things. You know, I'm the Beijing influencer who sees China through rose-colored glasses. That was one. At the time that article was written, I had 4,000 followers on Twitter. That was it. And they called me a Beijing influencer. So I'm not really sure where they got that from. Then I was called a retired security guard. I've been called a bike riding retiree. So that, I mean, they don't want to give me the credit for having any degree of intelligence, qualifications, experience. Most of them believe what they see because it's repeated 1,000 times. The old, I think it was Goebbels said, if you repeat a lie 1,000 times, it becomes a truth. And also there's the other thing that he's credited with, but he didn't actually say it this way, accuse your enemy of what you are doing. And that is something that America are very, very good at. They will organize for people, academics, to write a thesis. So there's an academic study into something. That academic study then gets used by the media. And then the academic will say, look, the media are, so this is called circular referencing. The media are pushing this story out, so this story must be true. And then the media push more stories out, referring back to the original source, which was not true in the first place. And then we get this circular referencing thing going on. And I think that's probably that's something that America are extremely good at. They've had probably 100 years, maybe at least 70 years of controlling the media and controlling how they feed information to the media through their leaks, through their academic reports. You know, the State Department, the CIA, the National Endowment for Democracy, they will create a story, and then that story becomes a truth, even though it's not a truth. And everyone believes it because it's everywhere. They say, well, hang on, it's on Fox and it's on CNN. So China is bad on Fox and China is bad on CNN. And you've got both sides of the political spectrum saying China must be bad. It's the only thing Americans can agree on. China is bad. But 70% of them, if you say, well, do you believe weapons of mass destruction? Of course I don't. Do you believe the Tonkin incident? Of course I don't. Do you believe that your government handled COVID well? Of course I don't. But you believe China is bad. It is, because it's everywhere. Well, all of those other things were everywhere too. And you don't believe them now, but you still believe this. So which one of us, you know, I live in China and you're telling me China is bad. Which one of us has the experience and the knowledge to say the truth? And yeah, but you're paid to say it. Okay, I'm not going to win this argument. So I just let that one go. But people who ask genuine questions always get a genuine answer.
姐妹们总烦恼脸上细纹干燥与暗沉，现在起跟我一起放心交给 KS Royal Face 皇家颜值逆时奇迹系列。KS Royal Face 皇家颜值逆时奇迹系列，它添加5种 EGF， 专门防止肌肤老化，强化皮肤修复，增加肌肤弹性水嫩，轻松抚平皱纹，换回青春自信。KS Royal Face 皇家颜值逆时奇迹，活肤露、全效精华、精华霜，即刻启动冻龄密码。